Of course, this is Easter Sunday, but it was also 32 years ago this weekend a gunman tried to kill Ronald Reagan. Today, a story you've never heard before about how a doctor saved the president's life with what he believes was some divine help. Here's our Power Player of the Week.
And they said, we need you to come over to the hospital right away.
That was how Dr. Sam Spagnolo learned 32 years ago he was about to take on the case of his life. He was the head of the lung department at George Washington University Hospital, and Ronald Reagan, who had sustained a gunshot to the lung, was in the operating room.
And the bullet went through here and lodged over here on the inner surface of the lung. So another inch or two and it would have been into the heart.
Spagnolo first saw the president when he was wheeled into the recovery room.
We put him on the ventilator right away, and he was getting some sedation, and I stayed there until we finally got him off the ventilator about 3 o'clock in the morning.
The doctor says Reagan did well the first couple of days. His condition serious but not critical. Then things changed. Spagnolo kept a diary he's making public for the first time.
Day 5, April 3rd, 1981, I was called at home and requested to return to the hospital. I arrived at the presidential suite and asked the nurse in charge what was going on. She told me the president's temperature was almost 104 degrees, and he was not looking well. That made all of us a little nervous about which way this was going to go.
When you say which way this was going to go, was his life in danger?
At that point, I thought his life was in danger.
That's got to take your breath away.
It did.
Spagnolo ordered a battery of tests to check for infection, but the president's medical team resisted.
Things were going a little slower than I'd hoped.
So what did you say?
If we don't get moving, I'm going to walk off this case.
The other doctors agreed to the tests, but they found no sign of infection. Still, Spagnolo was convinced that was the problem and put Reagan on antibiotics. Within 24 hours, his temperature went down.
Honestly, 30 years later, what do you think would have happened if you had not intervened and given him this broad dose of antibiotics?
He might not have gotten better.
Spagnolo sat by the president's bedside in the morning for the next 2 weeks, watching TV and listening to his stories. There was no mention of politics.
Day 9, Tuesday, April 7th, I went to the president's room and spoke with him for 10 to 15 minutes. He looked better and his spirits were good. He continued to tell me various stories at that time about his early days in Hollywood.
Months later, the Reagans invited the medical team to the Oval Office to thank them for saving the president's life. Reagan always said his recovery was miraculous. Dr. Spagnolo agrees.
I certainly think somebody was watching over me all the time, making sure that it was going well. I certainly took any extra help that I could get from the good Lord above.
I spoke with Nancy Reagan this weekend and asked if she had a message for Dr. Spagnolo. She said, please send him a big, big thank you.